Good day, everybody. Dave Walker here with the B2SMB Institute, and yet another session in what I call our Thought Leaders track, where I really wanted to bring, in the context of really celebrating what's best to SMB out in the marketplace, out in our ecosystem, really, in addition to our award nominees, also bringing in some folks who are really doing some amazing things in the space or can provide some amazing insights into the space. Many of you know Kush Shrivastave from his days at Verizon Business and Yahoo in building some amazing products for small business. And now he has ventured into the world of cryptocurrency. And I'll let him explain exactly what his new role is and new company is and what he's doing. But Kush, welcome. It's always great to have you here and always great to talk to you.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for the opportunity. And of course, you guys are still my favorite community. I miss working and serving SMEs directly, but doesn't mean that I'm gonna go away. I'll try to be a part of the community, even though I'm not directly working in the industry anymore.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're going to have that kind of Michael Corleone moment where you're going to be on the steps somewhere and saying, "They pulled me back in." That small business pulled you back in. But why don't you give a quick background? Well, we won't assume that everybody knows who you are and what you've done over the course of your career, but a quick background on you and probably more importantly, this new company that you've joined, FalconX.
Yeah, I think I'll keep it brief. I started my career, I grew up in India. I started my career at Google, mostly in product management and product marketing roles. One of the key projects that I worked on there was leading the product marketing, which switched the brand from what the world used to call Android Market to what it is called Google Play. I stayed on as head of apps and games marketing for a while. Left in 2014 to work at a startup with a professor at Stanford and a few dear friends. We sold that to Pinterest. We built ads retargeting tool and like really incredible machine learning infrastructure. Post that, I started a company in the legal tech space that had an acquisition with another larger legal tech provider. I've been associated with Stanford, initially researching like can law be codified, or is code is law and law is code, kind of the thesis, and which led to very early discussions around like should we be writing, say, a contract definition language, and at the same time, blockchain was starting to become really popular amongst all the engineers and the tech community that I'm part of. And so I started looking at smart contracts, which is part of Ethereum, and that was my first foray into blockchain. For the last 3.5 years, I was with Verizon, managing director of a business unit called Yahoo Small Business, and running products and services for the SMB group, building a bunch of systems for both the Verizon customers and the Yahoo customers, and trying to integrate the two. I'm very happy I left it at a moment where YSB was turned around and the business is profitable, it's growing again. So I'm very happy about it. And I think there are great days ahead for the SMB ecosystem, and a lot of large companies put in money to build new products and services. I left because I got fascinated by a few trends in the blockchain space as I was observing the industries evolving, and I really couldn't just like stay on the sidelines. I had to jump in. A few reasons on why that happened, and we'll get into the meat of it. But largely, like you would have seen the like what the consumers usually see is the price of Bitcoin, the price of ETH. That's a reflection of the underlying maturity of the market. But the bunch of like economic reasons, the bunch of macroeconomic variables at play that led to this industry being refined. Currently, I'm with a company called FalconX. They are a institution-focused digital assets company. What it means is we work with like really large financial players like hedge funds, quant shop, prop shops. Many of them are in Chicago and New York, and of course the crypto native industry like miners and crypto funds, venture funds, etc. And we get them access to the digital assets market. Basically, we allow them to trade, give them flexible settlement terms, offer products like credit, and then also ensure that they're like clearing the way they want. So basically, act as a one-stop shop for all of their digital assets needs.
So it's a platform. It's not a currency itself. It's really
Yeah.
a trading platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a platform. The way to think about it is that what FalconX does is what AWS does for any application developers. We have built the financial infrastructure on top of which any institution can come and execute the trading strategy that they have in mind.
And is it cryptocurrency to currency, currency back to crypto? Or is it just crypto to crypto?
Yeah, I think I love to like kind of like deep dive into it. It's typically it's crypto to crypto, but of course, like if you're buying something for the first time, you will use fiat dollars or any other currency to get exposure to the crypto assets.
Very cool. So give us kind of, from your perspective, give us the state of cryptocurrency, and then obviously we want to open it up and talk about the state of cryptocurrency among small businesses, particularly in the US, but also for small businesses that are trading cross-border, that are trading overseas, that are doing business all over the world.
Let me try to like paint a picture of what I call like the 4 ages of blockchain. I think the age 1 was when this guy called Satoshi Nakamoto published his now famous white paper, which basically is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was a store of value. It basically presented a view that said that, hey, value can be interchanged as long as a certain number of people agree to a transaction, and it can be verified that block can be verified on a ledger, which is basically what Bitcoin was a few years. And that's where like a lot of people got excited. I'm talking about like early 2010s, and people started thinking, oh, this is great. And now we'll be able to make transactions very, very quickly. And a lot of like underlying values of what, including the utopian values of why should a currency be centralized? Why can't it just be decentralized? That's one core thesis of this community. Very soon, a lot of iterations on Bitcoins were being made. Like a lot of software developers and a lot of engineers said, what else can be done? And Vitalik in particular like came up with this notion of saying, hey, what if similar to Bitcoin, I also will be able to like attach an application layer to that through a smart contract. Now, and all of a sudden, like he opened up that now applications can talk to each other, and 2 applications can settle contracts between themselves. So for example, it sounds a little bit daunting, but it is very simple. It's basically the easiest example could be when you send a chat to me on any kind of a messenger that you use, there is a central party, which is this messenger company. Let's call it, say, Facebook. And I get the chat, you get the chat. Both of us have like sort of these receipts that the chat is being read. Very smart contract is very similar, and it can do it for a variety of transactions and applications and utility value. So you can verify that a chat was completed between 2 parties, or a transfer of money or transfer of asset goods completed between the 2 parties. But you can then make it a little bit more complex and say, if certain conditions are met, in that case, these 2 parties can transact with each other. So I can, like, if I'm a small business owner, for example, I can have a small contract and say that the moment I get my get my delivery of my goods and services, transfer the agreed upon payment to the provider, and that could be all codified in a smart contract. And you literally don't even have to like transfer the money. The moment you verify that you have received the goods or services, the transaction can automatically be executed and settled. And all of this can be verified, depends on what kind of protocol you're using, either on a public ledger or a private ledger that you have access to for forensics, if so the need be. So that was the second age of blockchain, where Ethereum came in, and then like we went through what the world known as crypto winter, where a lot of speculative behavior, a lot of the era of what we called a lot of like new tokens coming into a party and launching on different exchanges. and doing the buzzword at that time, ICO, or initial coin offering. And we saw that the market started going up, and it was largely driven by speculative nature of like what this potentially can do. And during that era, there was, of course, like any emerging industry, early days of the internet or early days of mobile, uh, there was a lot of underlying sort of management or business resiliency missing in all of these tokens, and some of them were fraud, and that led to what is called the crypto winter and ended the third age of blockchain. The fourth age really started by a few companies that were foundational to what where the world is today, and these companies are Compound and Aave, that allowed customers to, or anyone who will want to work on through their platforms, to on yield and like get margins and trade. So they started building the financial infrastructure like the traditional finance industry knows it. Like, so now now I can deposit my money. We call it in terms of crypto staking, and actually earn interest on it. Or I can like provide liquidity, or I can market make, which is basically like offering a certain amount of value for a certain project, saying that I really believe in it. So you would have heard these terms like proof of stake or proof of work, and these are just correlated to. I'm not going to go into all the details, but these are just correlated to this industry that eventually is now being called DeFi, or decentralized finance. These foundational companies, what they did is they played a role by giving a signal to the traditional finance players, your traders and your quant shops and your prop shops and hedge funds, saying like, hey, you guys can now come in and bring in your strategies, and we will help you get access to will help you get access to these markets, which are like highly volatile, and you can actually like think about it, and you can like think about arbitrage and margins and like all of, or yield, the way you think. So bring your own strategies, and we'll help you access it. And the market just exploded. All of a sudden, we saw that hedge funds and a lot of traditional finance companies started participating, along with a lot of retail participation. This age is characterized by three main trends, and that is really important, Dave. The first is that as an economy and as world, we have printed way too much money, which
Right.
40% of the dollar bills in circulation were printed in the last 18 to 24 months. Which means if I'm a hedge fund, I will look for an inflationary hedge, expecting that inflation is going to happen, and how do I still get my alpha? I will start looking for inflationary hedge. So a lot of initial investment into Bitcoin through these products and many more happened because everyone was thinking of Bitcoin as an asset that is uncorrelated, and it will provide an inflationary hedge. Very soon, once they started participating in this, they realized that because the asset is uncorrelated, you can do a lot more. I can bring in my trading strategies. I can bring in my growth strategies and actually try to maximize the value for myself, for my hedge fund, or for my shareholders, and so on and so forth. Then there was another underlying trend that was going on, the third part, which is where a lot of millennials started investing for the first time, and that happened all during the pandemic, right? So these are the fun parts that you're sitting at home all day. What are you doing? Like a lot of news was being made around the activism of finance, which is like, can I buy GameStop and AMC? Let's pump it up, and like those kind of things. But what it did, it started giving exposure to a lot of people into stock markets and investing for the very first time. And then what they started, but this was different. This was not like, people were not looking at the underlying asset value, what is the price equity ratio or Sharpe ratio. They were not analyzing it. They were going by populism. So if you are the top 10 trending stocks on Robinhood, chances are more people are going to buy it. If there's a Reddit forum about a certain company, chances are more people are going to buy it. That's millennial and Gen Z finance for us. Like, no need for a stockbroker. I can actually execute the trade. But the beauty of it is a lot of educational content is now widely available on YouTube, thanks to a lot of organizations and individuals who are just like talking about finance on TikTok and YouTube and whatnot. So what happened was that all of these people now actually started understanding what is spreads, reading candlestick charts, and like figuring out their own strategies. And it started trading with like $100, $1,000. The price of entry was so small that more and more people got in. And that was that was another trend that led to a lot of a lot of people getting exposed to stock investing first, and through the same apps getting exposed to crypto. And a combination of an intersection of these three technologies, finance, blockchain, and the tech infrastructure that is now finally ready, is resulting in a new financial world. People are asking questions why, if you are not okay with Google being down 2 days a week, why are you okay with a stock market that doesn't run 7 days a week?
Right.
Why does your bank tells you that, hey, if you don't put in your wire before 3 p.m. Eastern, they won't process it. It will be processed the next day, when technology exists. So beyond the speculation, the scarcity, and like whether you should buy something or not, the foundation of the next generation financial layer is being built as we speak. And that is what very exciting to me. Like, we are building an entirely new financial infrastructure that will make settlement and clearance absolutely simple, super easy. And that's powerful because it will allow us to operate at peak efficiencies and get rid of all these like ridiculous fees that people have. I think I spoke a lot already, but one last example that I can talk to you about, I think there are companies that are built around inefficiencies of financial infrastructure. Like Western Union is a prime example. Like, why should I pay like 10, 20, 30% to just do a cross-border payment? That doesn't make sense. And when the technology exists that I can instantaneously transfer my money from one place to the other, what we need to be careful about, I'll caveat that, is ensuring that we work with the regulators and do a lot of educations around it to ensure that we follow KYC and AML laws really, really well. But I think what's going to happen in the next 5 years is going to be absolutely fascinating, and a whole new world is just being created in front of our eyes, and I'm super excited to be a part of it.
God, what a great 10-minute story. I mean, I loved every, I mean, it helped guide me through I love the evolutionary story of crypto, but also you landed it very squarely in the disruptive benefits of crypto in the context of the economics of business, or the processes around the economics of business, is really fascinating. Talk a little bit, it may be a little repetitive, but the specific benefits that small businesses potentially gain that will ultimately be created by this blockchain crypto driven kind of exchange.
Yeah, I think when I'm a small business, there are a lot of things that I have to worry about. And one of them is, of course, like how do I accept payments? And there are tons of ways you do it today. Like, you started with like this cash, and now there's credit cards. And now with a bunch of cryptocurrencies, the first thing that business is going to do is to adopt blockchain, is to start thinking about whether it makes sense for them to accept cryptocurrency as a method of payment. The rollout will require a lot of testing and planning, and a lot of companies are not yet set up, but I think it's a good time to start thinking about blockchain. There are a few benefits that it can provide. It can reduce transaction costs over time. Another big advantage of this would be, like, there are issues like chargeback if customer purchases a product and cancels. Like, the businesses won't be on the hook. There are a bunch of benefits that will come across just by accepting cryptocurrency as a payment. Then there is the whole point around smart contracts, which I was trying to make. Like, leveraging smart contract to sort of like building basically like self-verifying and self-enforcing contracts. There could be commercial lease agreements, could be employee contracts, could be a bunch of things. Of course, like, I don't think the laws around it is a little bit still wonky, so I don't recommend that. Please, like, seek legal guidance before you do that. But there is a bunch of ways to think about contracts and leveraging what blockchain offers. The third most important thing, which I'm seeing a trend in the market already, a lot of like large companies are using it, is like using it for yield. for you to provide liquidity, basically like just storing your money and staking it in different projects, you can earn significantly higher yield than your current bank accounts. So there are a lot of companies who are doing that. Again, depends on which jurisdiction you are in and what laws are applicable to you. But you can earn as high as like 8, so in some cases like 20 to 30% yield in the current blockchain environment, which is incredible. So these are some of the ways where they can start. Small businesses can start thinking about blockchain. What one use case that I think they can start doing now and start thinking about it in an aggressive way, where I feel the current wave is thinking about this thing called NFTs, or non-fungible tokens. So I will recommend you, Dave, to actually probably try this. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens, which basically just means they're unique. So no token is going to be the same, and they may carry the same properties, but like if you own it, it's yours. So the concept was that if, for example, I go to a B2SMB event and you can issue NFTs, and every attendee will get an NFT, and that can have, you can potentially say, like have a smart contract say that as long as you are the holder of that NFT, I'll give you access to certain kind of like firewalled content, or you get like 20% off on my next event, and like be creative about your loyalty and retention programs. And then this NFT can be held by this person, or if they so desire to, they can actually put it up in a public marketplace like OpenSea and sell it, and say like, or just give it away to someone else who might benefit from it. So this creates a pretty strong the new world of loyalty programs that the small business haven't even started talking about. But we are seeing like examples of this in the gaming industry. A lot of games are using NFTs. A lot of celebrities are using NFTs. Like if you like, what is the biggest movie that launched this week? Just a trivia quiz.
James Bond.
There you go. So MGM launched NFTs for the latest Bond movies as well. And
No
I think,
kidding.
yeah. So for No Time to Die. So from a marketing perspective, like, of course, it's really cool that they're participating in the industry. They're kind of like, and it kind of like it's a good hedge. The delayed and it was finally reaching theaters. This NFT led promotion has kind of given them a new thing. And the advantage of NFTs to market a new movie is pretty cool, right? It is going to be a topic of conversation from a marketing perspective, but they can like then say, hey, if you hold this NFT as a proof of attendance, like you went to No Time to Die, and because now you have built a following, you can then like do whole sorts of marketing and then like talk about like, hey, if you hold this NFT, you would probably get access to some private events and things like that. I'm not sure what they're exactly offering, but it's so super cool. So it's happening already.
It is a fascinating idea, and what I hear you saying is it eliminates the rather cumbersome authentication process required, of enter your promo code, or you must enter your email address and be verified before you get access to. I mean, I am thinking very much in terms of our conference and all of the rather cumbersome steps that people have to do to get access to particular things that we would just like them to breeze into and be as frictionless as possible. When you think about the future and the problems that crypto solves, the challenges that crypto helps small businesses overcome, what do you foresee as the barriers to small businesses more effective, embracing this and saying, yeah, I could really use that?
Yeah, I think of crypto markets and blockchain as the early days of the internet. They offer a really high uncapped upside, but there are also significant risks involved. That technology is evolving at a rapid pace, but you really need to understand it. So don't jump into it without understanding, because at the end of the day, this is a financial layer. You gotta understand your finances before you make a decision. The regulatory framework around this is still evolving. So as laws get more defined and become clear, I expect a widespread adoption coming from small businesses, because clarity is what like a lot of people seek. And in terms of the future, as this like whole new infrastructure gets built, it's going to disrupt industries like payment, how we approach like customer retention and marketing, how we think about building loyalty programs, how we think about like sort of the experiences or exclusivity that I can grant to my customers over time, and
Hmm.
also as holistically how we run our business, like accepting cross-border payments, accepting and transacting very, very quickly, which is highly verified, very secure. All of these things are going to come together. But like I said, the industry is still evolving. For
Hmm.
small businesses, I think now is the time to start learning about it. Almost, you're already late if you're not like learning about it. There's certain
Hmm.
things which are very well defined and further ahead, like the NFT example that I gave you, which is going to be super simple for SMBs to get into. Start there. Start thinking about like how they can use it in your day to day. And I think I see like a world where small businesses will be able to tokenize their value or their stores and trade them like a public company trade stocks. But all of those things are going to follow much later until there is like regulatory certainty. A lot of these pieces are evolving, but very exciting time to get involved and read up and ensure that you start participating in small ways. Crawl, walk, and run is the mantra.
No, and that's frankly how both the internet and how mobile played out. There was a crawl, walk, run into it, and but look where it is today. Just the concept alone of the smart contract and how it can eliminate basically, again, a lot of the DocuSign hoops that you have to run through and all of the kind of checking back and forth and redlining and all of that. But most importantly, the impediment it creates to just getting paid, to just transacting, which is really the meaning of the contract in the first place, I think is exciting. If you you're never not going to be a product developer for small business. So let's just get that out on the table. So, as
You
someone who
never
is
know, right?
permanently a product developer for small business, what do you think are going to be the products and services, the top 2 to 3 products and services in small business that small business use that will have to change enormously? What do you think those are going to be?
Yeah, I think first, I think I'd love to figure out a way to bring more clarity to SMBs. I think they are the ones who will embrace it if we are able to like do something together, Dave. So let's talk a little bit more about that offline. Um, I do see that the customer loyalty space is going to be the first one to get impacted. I'm already
Interesting.
examples
Hmm.
of that. Like NFTs, the James Bond example that we talked about is a clear sign that it's right for small business to think about and participate in that economy. The second thing that I think is going to become a little bit more stream is like forms of payment. How do you uh,
Hmm.
accept digital currency as a payment, and then like rethinking how you approach your financial institutions and banking. Like how do you invest the money that you hold to earn better yield, better interest rate, and so on and so forth. I think these are the 3 areas where we will see like massive transformation happening very, very quickly.
Um, you made the comment earlier, and it's so true that a lot of the um, impediments that happen in the flow of money in the small business ecosystem, whether it's with their bank or their customers or their lenders, whoever, is institutionally cumbersome, and it's been institutionalized to the extent where it almost is, it self protects. We want it to be cumbersome to pay bills. We want it to be, particularly when it's a vendor of a small business, and particularly a large company vendor, they want the process to be slow. Let's send you that printed check. Let's hold you to net 90 terms, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of those kinds of barriers that exist out there in that commerce exchange. But are the players like like a QuickBooks, like a FreshBooks? Are the players like a Cabbage and a Lendio? Are the players that are really part and parcel of the products and services that represent the whole small business financial ecosystem, are they thinking about this? Are they in the midst of really trying to embrace it themselves?
Yeah, I think so. Most of the companies that are worth their while are thinking about blockchain. I know for a fact that, for example, if you go to any Verizon news site, they verify it through a blockchain product. There are other ways that I'm sure that like they'll be thinking about it. So I'll give you a very simple and direct answer. Like, and this was a funny thing that happened when I was visiting New York. When I was meeting the people from the financial industry, they will introduce themselves and say, "Oh, I work in traditional finance." Just the fact that they say they work in traditional finance means they're Jurassic. They know it already.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you don't want to call yourself that I'm a traditional internet company. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be that, you have to start thinking about what's the future going to hold, what the future of payment, the future of society, how the decentralization and communities of the future are going to live and work together. And every company that is out there today has to think about it, from an experience perspective, but also their own treasuries, like how are they investing their money? Are they
Mm-hmm.
buying the bond the right way to think about it to extend the shareholder value? And if you're a small business, is just offering an email subscription enough
Mm-hmm.
for you to build a loyalty program? If you're a mid-sized business, thinking about how you can get uh, bridge loans or access to capital a lot more easily. So at a fundamental level, I think that's the power of finance and technology, that they impact everything that we do. And I
Mm-hmm.
like, and when these two things intersect, magic happens. And I think that's where we are.
And as you said, if small businesses aren't considering this and thinking about this and the potential impact of it, then they run the risk of being as behind the curve as they were in the early stages of the internet and behind the curve as they in the early stages of mobile. So I will happily join you in that mission to educate small business. But I think that what you've done is at least set the stage for, hey, it's actually in the community here of business to small business professionals, marketing leaders, product developers, strategists, C-suite leaders have to be thinking and contextualizing, particularly in their own product offering, the impact that blockchain and crypto is going to have ultimately on the future. And I don't, it's funny because when I talk to leaders, particularly about this subject, there is a doubtless inevitability to the fact that crypto is going to play a huge role.
Yeah.
It's not that anybody is debating it. In the early stages of the internet, there actually were people out there who were saying, I think this is a passing fad. It's not going to really last. There is nobody that I've met who says crypto is really going away, or that blockchain really and what it brings are going away. So I'd love to have you back. Even though you are no longer in the business of directly developing products and services for small businesses, I do believe that evangelizing the need for and really the thought processes around how to embrace crypto strategically inside whatever it is you're selling to small business, I think it's just absolutely wildly, hugely has huge potential. So thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it because I think it was a great primer, but also provokes a lot more further on conversation that really hopefully opens people's eyes and minds.
Yeah, appreciate that, Dave, and thank you for all your contributions to the SME industry and the ecosystem around it. I think I really enjoyed my time getting to know you in the past few years, and I really do think that like you guys organize some of the best conferences in the world. I learned more in 2 days just chatting with you guys in Chicago than I could have done in a whole year of meetings. So I appreciate like how thoughtful you are. I think you qualified it well. Like what I discussed today was just the bare bones introductions,
Mm-hmm.
but you have my commitment that I'll continue to work with you to define the problem statement as well as like potential applications a little bit better for our ecosystem.
Very exciting. Thank you so much again for doing this.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.